So my name is Shaylee Iverson. I'm a student at West Virginia Northern, and I'm going to be talking today about how chemotherapy affects the body and its major organ systems. So chemotherapy is commonly known to treat diseases such as cancer, but it also treats other diseases as well. There's many ways to administer chemotherapy. The main one known is IV treatments, but there's also other ways, as in topical creams, so kind of like a lotion you can apply to the affected site or however the doctor recommends to the patient, and that would help as well. Many people see chemotherapy as helpful, and it is, but there's also many ways that it can harm your body. Some of the common side effects are fatigue, hair loss, bruising or bleeding easily, infection, anemia, vomiting, appetite changes, constipation and or diarrhea, weight changes, which most people see a fluctuation up in their weight because of all that inflammation throughout their body, mood changes, and fertility problems. More commonly in female patients, you will see that their whole reproductive system becomes shredded or friable tissue. So some of the systems that it can affect I have right here, and the heart is what we're going to talk about first. So that is your cardiothoracic system. And in a patient, whenever they do chemotherapy, it's very common that you will see that their heart muscles become weakened because of all the calcium buildup that is on their heart. It eventually over time weakens that muscle or muscles. So urinary system is the kidneys and the bladder, which is the most affected system throughout chemotherapy. You will see that it becomes a major change, and even patients have said that it burns or it hurts because of that radioactive in the chemotherapy. Doctors commonly, after a patient gets chemotherapy, take a 24-hour urine sample, and they have many ways to decide whether the damage is temporary, permanent, how severe it is, and they take some tests and check the levels and everything. So the respiratory system, the way that a patient becomes affected by this is the inflammation. As I mentioned earlier, they become very inflamed. It inflames your lungs and other parts of your respiratory system, and then makes it very hard to breathe and do your day-to-day tasks. Another system that is affected is the nervous system. So this affects all the nerves in your body, mainly the feet and the hands. So it makes it very hard and can be hurtful to do the day-to-day tasks as well. It also affects homeostasis, and homeostasis is very important for positive and negative feedback to be regulating the changes throughout a person's body and keeping it regulated throughout different outside external changes, but it can affect the way that a person's body does that. It weakens the integumentary system, which is the hair, the skin, and the nails. You will commonly see when a patient takes chemotherapy or gets chemotherapy that they lose their hair and their nails become very brittle, and their skin becomes very friable, so very gentle. It also can weaken the bones and the muscles, so just another thing that ends up getting weakened throughout there, and you will commonly see patients who have been through chemotherapy become very weak in more than one way. Another thing that can be affected is the vision. So vision changes can range from simple blurredness to affecting the way a person sees all of their colors. So it can kind of range on that scale there, but more commonly it becomes very harmful to their vision, and they end up having issues with colors and things. They can also lose their taste and their smell. So that can end up affecting the way they live day to day as well. So another thing that it affects is brain fog, but is also known as chemobrain. So it can also affect a way that a person thinks and feels, which then can cause the mood changes, so causing anxiety, depression, and other mental illnesses like that. And it's very common to see patients who go through chemotherapy having those changes throughout their mind and their body, and it affecting them long term. So where I see chemotherapy to be in the next 5 years is I believe that there can be research done on why chemotherapy affects the human body the way that it does. Also, is there a way that chemotherapy can be administered and used to treat a disease without harming a patient's body as much as it does? Are there new ways that chemotherapy can be administered that is more convenient for a patient? So IV treatments can take hours, and there's multiple of them. They have to continue to keep coming back in, depending on how bad that disease is. So is there ways that we can kind of cut down that time? Is there any way that chemotherapy can be localized so it only attacks the target area, so that it's maybe not affecting the urinary and the heart and all of those things that I had mentioned previously as much as it does? So chemotherapy will still share the market in the next 5 years very majorly. If you see down here, this picture that I have gotten from Pharmaceutical Executive, in 2024, the way that chemotherapy shares the market goes up about 20%, which is a large number of people that can be helped, which is very good. And the good thing about medicine is it's always changing, and there's always new information and always people researching and new ways to research and new information coming out every day. So the way that we can do this is just by getting new information and continuing to run tests and doing research and like this. People with cancer do not have much of an option, and other diseases as well. Yes, there's multiple ways that chemotherapy can be administered, but they're not left with much of an option as a person with a sinus infection would be. They can kind of choose, do I want to take antibiotics? Do I want to take this one? Do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? People with cancer don't really have that option. It's take the chemotherapy or don't. I mean, and even if you do, it's no saying that it's going to help. It can prolong your life, but no saying that it's going to help and take away that disease and cure that cancer. And there's always that chance that it can come back. So this is just based off of 2024, but I believe it's 2023 now, so by 2028, I believe there's so many ways that we can improve the research and improve the treatments and help everything just become more helpful for a patient's body. They already go through so much. And that is all I have for you guys today.